On a sunny day, the bunnies and bears were fixing the fields on the tower's 99th floor that got messed up during the blue moon. Sejun saw that the land was tilted and decided to use peanut seedlings from his pouch. After harvesting corn in the morning and reaching level 6, Sejun got faster at planting peanut seeds by increasing his agility. The store got an update, and Sejun had a choice between cucumber, radish, or peanut seeds. He went for peanuts as they helped the soil. He bought 1,000 peanut seeds and earned mileage points, moving up from rookie to commoner tier. In the new tier, 4 seeds were randomly displayed, and he could buy as many as he wanted with 5 gold coins. The seed store also reached level 2. Sejun was excited about using the seed store and wondered how many seeds he could buy next time. He needed more seeds because the recently harvested corn didn't produce fruit again. With the help of the rabbits and Kyung, they cut down the stalks and leaves, covering the area where the peanuts were planted to prevent moisture from evaporating due to sunlight. After that, Sejun collected more corn seeds from a recent harvest, and his job proficiency slightly increased. Planning to soak them in water, the baby rabbits wanted some, but Sejun didn't give them any. He noticed the bunnies looking bored since the adults were working. Then he got an idea and pulled out something from his bag. He gave the baby rabbits their own bags filled with carrot bits to share with the working adults. Sejun told them to come back for a refill and then sent them off. The baby rabbits gave the adult rabbits their snacks, and watching them work, Sejun wondered if he could ask Theo to buy some clothes for the baby rabbits, imagining how adorable they would look. Meanwhile, Ox 3 strolls across the desolate land, searching for the palace where he gathered some plants during the blue moon. His captain instructed him to find out where these plants came from. Ox 3 can only vaguely remember it being somewhere near the border. His memories are fuzzy due to the effects of the blue moon. The captain, puzzled, couldn't recall any such plant within his territory. However, he acknowledged its delightful aroma and decided to taste it by chewing on one of the crops. The other oxen watched in anticipation, their mouths watering. The captain, thoroughly enjoying the flavor, began to describe its deliciousness while striking confident poses. He then directed Ox 3 to locate the place where he found the plant for the benefit of their Minotaur community. Ox 3 feels anxious, fearing the consequences of failure and possible punishment. Having reached the border where the forest met the wilderness, he worries about encountering the red-furred bear. Suddenly, a familiar scent reaches his nose. Behind a boulder, he discovers corn leaves neatly arranged in a field. Excitedly, he samples the leaves and praises their deliciousness. Despite not knowing the specific type of grass, Ox 3 continues collecting them, hopeful for the captain's approval. Meanwhile, Mama Bear felt something strange in her area. Ken wondered why his mom had made a growling sound. Mama Bear seemed really mad. On the other hand, Aileen enjoyed a relaxing bath at the spa now that she was grown up. Suddenly, she got a message from Mama Bear. Aileen was confused about why the Crimson Bear was bothering her. When she read Mama Bear's message, she was shocked by the news. Aileen woke up Sejun, who was peacefully sleeping. She told him that a new monster had shown up near the cave. Mama Bear then called Sejun, and he found out that the corn leaves were missing from the peanut field. He was puzzled and had a headache because the corn leaves were gone. On the 38th floor of the tower, Theo welcomed the humans and said he had come back for business. Sejun couldn't understand how the crops had disappeared without any noise. Mama Bear was convinced it was those corn troublemakers. Sejun wondered if it was the monster that had dug a pit during the blue moon. Luckily, only the leaves were taken and the field wasn't damaged. Sejun decided to use the blue tomato leaves instead. Mama Bear promised to expand her territory and patrol daily. Grateful, Sejun reminded her not to overwork. As Mama Bear left, Sejun felt relieved that no one had gotten hurt. He realized he needed the power to protect himself. Later, adult rabbits took care of the bee queen's cocoon and left it with Sejun. It was the day the bee queen was supposed to hatch. According to the system, the first person seen after hatching would be the owner. Sejun had almost 200 bees, and if the new bee queen hatched, it could form another force outside the cave to protect it. While waiting, Sejun got sleepy and planned to give the bee queen flowers from the tomato and potato plants. He dozed off, and the cocoon started shaking. Unbeknownst to Sejun, the cocoon shone brightly as a cute bee queen emerged, named the second-generation poison bee queen. While practicing flying, she accidentally fell on Sejun's chest. The bee queen was surprised but kept staring at Sejun until the system announced that she now regarded him as her owner. She smiled and noticed the flower Sejun was holding. All of a sudden, the first-generation poison bee queen burst out of the cave. She greeted the new bee queen and began to explain everything. They became fast friends and started flying around together. The second-generation Bee Queen expressed gratitude to her elder, then flew over to snuggle with Sejun's face. Afterward, it flew away, and Sejun woke up. He was surprised to find notifications congratulating him on successfully hatching the Bee Queen and improving his beekeeping skill. Looking around, he tried to find the new Bee Queen, but it was already gone. Meanwhile, Ox 3 reported to his captain, displaying the leaves he discovered at the border. The captain noted that it was a different type of plant and felt disappointed that there wasn't enough to share. Ox 3, appearing satisfied, apologized. The captain understood, acknowledging the Minotaur race's substantial appetite. Trying the leaves Ox 3 brought, the captain found them delicious and commended Ox 3 for a job well done, recognizing the potential prosperity the grasses could bring to their barren land. Curious about the forest area, the captain pondered if changes were occurring on the 99th floor upon finding a peculiar grass in an abandoned location. Despite wanting to personally investigate, he hesitated to leave the waypoint he was guarding, mindful of his limited time away as the floor boss. Deciding to delegate the task, the captain instructed Ox 3 to identify the exact source of the grass and determine who had cultivated it. However, when Ox 3 requested a break, citing fullness, the captain became angered and insisted he leave immediately. On the 38th floor, Theo, always a popular figure, gathered a crowd. He apologized for being late and shared that the magic cherry tomatoes he had were extra special this time. Even though everyone initially thought they were special, Theo insisted these were even more remarkable. Showing the D-grade magic cherry tomatoes, everyone was surprised. After checking, they discovered the tomatoes could now break down 20 grams of fat, boost mana by 0.2, and last for 60 days. Dongshik was amazed because he could now eat and save more than twice as much as before with the new cherry tomatoes. Theo presented the magic cherry tomatoes, and a bidding session started. He sold a lot and realized a profit of over 1,000 tower coins. Excitement filled him at the thought of restrictions being lifted once he became a veteran wandering merchant. Out of the blue, a woman approached him. Theo was beginning his other job, letting others touch his paw for rewards. However, he noticed only one person around and wondered where the others had gone. The woman explained that most had already descended the tower because Theo was running late. Disappointed, Theo questioned if his front paw was no longer lucky. The woman tried to cheer him up with churros, but Theo couldn't shake off the disappointment, pondering the change in his luck. At that moment, two more women recognized Theo and approached him, thinking he might be the well-known traveler who sells things. They wanted to take some photos, and Theo didn't understand what they meant. The women showed him how many people liked Theo on Instagram. Theo felt surprised initially, but then realized it could be beneficial for him. He asked them to give him rewards if they wanted to take pictures. Later, Theo discovered that someone had made a fan account, causing people to go to the 38th floor to take pictures of him. The person behind it apologized for not telling him sooner, wondering if he was mad. Theo was frustrated but told her to take more pictures of him. Excitedly, he posed cutely, and she praised his cuteness. Encouraged, Theo told her to tell everyone to come to the 38th floor for more pictures, but they had to bring him rewards. After that, Theo felt tired from all the sudden attention. He took time to groom himself, thinking about getting rewards and maybe a promotion from Sejun. While laughing, he suddenly felt hot breath on his fur, making him mad. He found two wolves in front of him. The cat-like Theo was scared of the dog-like wolves. A third wolf showed up, more imposing, and Theo trembled in fear. The wolf threatened him, asking about a straw hat from the merchant district. Theo didn't understand. The wolf got angrier, warning of consequences if he didn't answer. Theo started crying in fear. Then, an acorn rolled between them. The wolf was puzzled. Smoke came from the acorn, and the wolves complained about the smell. While covering their noses, someone, Zerath, appeared behind Theo, grabbed his hand, and signaled him to be quiet. She pulled him away from the wolves. The leader spotted them escaping and told the others to follow. They had to drop to the ground because of the strong smell. Canines have sensitive noses. The wolf leader couldn't believe their mission failed. In another part of the forest, Theo and Zerath had stopped running to catch their breath. Theo was thankful to Zerath for saving him, but she said it was just repaying a favor. Despite that, Theo wanted to thank her and asked if she liked grilled fish. Zerath saw an opportunity and asked if she could join him, expressing a desire to learn from Theo. Theo agreed, and Zerath suggested a shortcut to the merchant district. However, Theo wanted to visit the merchant guild first to apply for a promotion to a mid-level merchant. Zerath was surprised, as Theo had only become a wandering merchant a few months ago. Theo asked how she knew about his time as an active merchant, making Zerath realize her mistake. She shouldn't reveal her identity as an agent of the Wandering Merchant Secret Inspection Bureau. Theo started becoming suspicious, and Zerath began to stumble over her words. Theo wondered if Scarum had told her about him, and Zerath went along with it, agreeing. While Theo cursed Scarum, Zerath felt relieved that Theo was assuming other reasons. Zerath then wondered how Theo had managed to gather 1,000 tower coins in such a short time, as a low-level merchant like her couldn't afford it. She thought it was impossible without special support and considered arresting him if he was involved in illegal activities. Theo simply told her that he had been selling cherry tomatoes, leaving Zerath confused. She asked if it was those round fruits she knew, and Theo confirmed it. Theo claimed he got sold out and promised to show them to Zerath next time. Since they were wasting time, Theo suggested moving already, but Zerath remained suspicious about amassing 1,000 tower coins just by selling cherry tomatoes. She still found Theo suspicious. Meanwhile, in the US, a businessman got hold of the newest D-grade magic cherry tomato. He was really impressed by its fresh effects and flavor. Later, he asked a woman named Jenny about planting the same cherry tomato on Earth. Jenny showed him a pot where the cherry tomato grew just like a regular one on Earth. He wondered if it failed since the tower's cherry tomato was considered a special item. Then he asked about the results of planting them inside the tower. Jenny mentioned that they had already planted 100 E-grade magic cherry tomatoes on the first floor, and 10 of them had successfully started growing, ready to be harvested soon. The man was impressed, and Jenny thanked the chairman for his support. She said they were working on increasing the germination rate to 50% soon, and the man was happy that things were going well. Jenny then asked about the budget, and the man confirmed that it had been approved by the board. They planned to hire awakened individuals to set up a farm and get rid of the monsters nearby. The man's dream of starting a farm business in the tower seemed possible now, all thanks to Sejun's magic cherry tomatoes. Theo had been promoted to a mid-level merchant, and the merchant guild quickly congratulated him. Zerath also offered her congratulations. Excitedly, Theo invited her to join him at the trading market. Zerath's mood shifted to seriousness when she realized they were headed to the trading market, where mid-level merchants showcased their abilities. It was a place for auctions where profits could soar or plummet in an instant. Zerath knew hesitation was not an option in this fierce battleground. Since it was different from their visit to the junk shop, Zerath wondered how Theo would navigate this new terrain. Theo led the way to a store, and Zerath observed the sign. It read Miscellaneous Goods. Inside, Theo selected 2 cooking utensils, a thread and needle set, and a saw. Zerath puzzled over why Theo wasn't buying items in bulk to resell on another floor. Theo reminded her that he specialized in selling cherry tomatoes. Disappointed that she wouldn't get to witness Theo's skills in action this time, Zerath watched as the store owner offered the items for 2.4 tower coins. Zerath suspected the items were actually cheaper and should cost less than 2 tower coins. Concerned that the store owner might be taking advantage of Theo, Zerath felt uneasy. However, Theo fought back by casually asking for a discount. Zerath was worried because the place had changed from the simple junk shop it used to be. The hyena played along and offered 2.2 tower coins. Zerath could see that the hyena was using an old technique of starting with a high price and then casually lowering it. The store owner was someone they shouldn't underestimate. Despite this, Theo kept pushing for a bigger discount. Flustered, the hyena claimed it was already the best price he could get anywhere else. Theo then decided to leave the store. Zerath wondered why he didn't negotiate more, and Theo explained that the hyena wouldn't give him a further discount. Thinking Theo was a pushover, the hyena sighed and offered 2 tower coins for the items. Theo boldly asked for 1.8 tower coins. In the end, the hyena gave up and agreed to Theo's deal. Zerath couldn't believe the store owner lost. It seemed like Theo had a predetermined victory from the start. Zerath, who had special education, imagined leading the negotiation like Theo did. She started believing that Theo managed to earn 1,000 tower coins with just cherry tomatoes, wondering if she was witnessing the moment of a genius merchant. However, Theo was simply following Sejun's advice to ask for a discount 3 times. The two had left the store, and Zerath said her goodbyes. Theo had planned to treat her to a meal, but Zerath was okay with it and thanked Theo for the lessons she had learned. Because of Theo, Zerath had a chance to reflect on her arrogance. Theo wondered what he had done exactly. Zerath assumed Theo was just being humble and warned him to be careful as he might encounter the wolves again. Zerath then left, and Theo found her to be a peculiar fox. He continued on his way to meet Sejun, looking forward to enjoying a nap on his lap. Later, in Zerath's office, she finished writing up her report. Someone entered to inform her that the director wanted to discuss the stolen goods from Grid. She agreed to meet him and handed over a report about Theo. Zerath instructed the secretary to exclude Theo from surveillance. The secretary was surprised to see that Theo was labeled as a genius in bargaining. Zerath mentioned it was the first time she had encountered a real merchant. Meanwhile, Sejun places the grasses again on the peanut field. He also feels glad that he can expand his field outside the cave by planting more corn and cherry tomatoes. Suddenly, he notices the watering can bunny having issues with its watering can. The can is supposed to have infinite water, but nothing is coming out. The black rabbit comes running in and tells Sejun something. Sejun wonders if something is wrong in the pond. He then goes back to the cave and discovers that the pond is full of crayfish. He wonders if they also came from the hole where the piranhas came from. He starts to question the ecosystem under the pond. He then imagines cooking a crayfish just like what he saw on social media. He instructs the black rabbit to catch some since they are delicious when cooked. The black rabbit then brings out its hammer. Sejun exclaims that they should not miss out on getting a source of protein. In the pond, Sejun and a crayfish stared at each other. A bunch of crayfish jumped out of the water, and Sejun quickly swiped at them, gaining experience points. Then the black rabbit took its turn. It used a hammer to knock out the remaining crayfish. Other rabbits gathered the fainted crayfish. When Sickle Bunny tried to chop a crayfish, his sickle didn't work. Sejun suggested softening them up by cooking. He wrapped each crayfish with green onion leaves and cooked them over a fire. The salty smell made everyone hungry. Later, Sejun checked if the crayfish were cooked. A feast was revealed as the onion leaf wraps were opened. Sejun unwrapped the remaining crayfish and started splitting the shells. He admired the shiny meat, and the rabbits were already excited to eat. Sejun shared the seafood with the rabbits, who enjoyed the new taste. He was delighted to have something delicious to eat. Then Sejun noticed Mama Rabbit trying to throw away the crayfish heads, but he stopped her. He explained that the organs could be used as a dipping sauce, insisting it was a delicacy that made him crave soju. He let the black rabbit taste it, though it was unsure. Eventually, it tried the sauce, and its expression showed how tasty it was. The rabbit continued to finish what was inside the shell. Sejun encouraged everyone to eat a lot since there was more available. At that moment, Kyung approached, lured in by the delicious smell of the food. Sejun told him to wait while he got ready to share some with Kyung. Kyung's eyes got big when he saw a bunch of grilled crayfish. As Sejun tried to show him the right way to eat them, Kyung casually bit into a whole crayfish. Sejun wondered if it tasted good and remembered that crayfish shells were also healthy. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the tower's second floor, a group of awakened individuals raided a village of skeletons. The helpless skeletons tried to run away, but they were ruthlessly murdered. The businessmen from earlier came to check how things were going with securing land for a big farm. It was clear that many mercenaries were sent, and they had already taken over half of the skeleton villages on the second floor. The man felt disappointed and wondered how long it would take to conquer everything. An awakened suggested it might take a few months because there weren't enough people. The man then showed a system window with debtors that could be used as labor. He ordered them to finish the task within a week. The man went to a nearby field where some scientists used to grow magic cherry tomatoes. One of them asked if he wanted to try one, and he gladly agreed, picking a cherry tomato. When he bit into it, he realized it wasn't on the list of registered items. Curious, he tasted it, but his face turned sour. He spat it out, surprising everyone. Upset, he wondered why it tasted like nothing. Others tried the tomatoes and found the same taste. The scientists were puzzled because they used the best supplements, yet the tomatoes were tasteless and of low quality for marketability. The man grabbed a tomato and crushed it, shocked to find no seeds in it. Meanwhile, Sejun slept peacefully in the cave as Ox 3 returned to the field outside. Ox 3 happily grazed on the fresh grass as if they were free samples in a market. In the skeleton village, the businessman scowled at a cherry tomato without seeds. Without seeds, it couldn't grow further, making him wonder if his past experiences held the key. A decade ago, he somehow found his way into the tower shortly after it appeared. Fortunately, he entered through vanishing, armed himself, and began an adventure. His younger self marveled at the vast, fertile land within the tower, with a perpetual sun providing continuous daylight and excellent soil quality. He dreamed of growing crops to dominate the global food market. Upon reaching a certain level, he left the tower and returned to his father's company, proposing the tower farming project. Gathering numerous seeds, he transported them to the tower. Unfortunately, none of the seeds sprouted. Despite investing heavily in various types of seedlings, not a single one grew inside the tower. Over time, news spread about the tower negatively affecting people's fertility, attributed to the body adapting to manna suddenly. The only solution was reaching a level beyond 10 as an awakened. This revelation shocked everyone, as it not only impacted human fertility, but also hindered plant growth, with no apparent way for them to level up. In the past, a businessman thought about changing his plans and growing crops inside a tower. But merchants didn't want to sell or share seeds because someone named Grid on the 55th floor controlled them. Back then, the businessman had only reached the 10th floor. After spending a lot of money on a project that didn't work, he faced criticism from his father and the company's board, who called him incompetent. His dream of starting the tower farming project quickly fell apart. Now looking back, the man was determined not to give up. He told his team to bring hunters to the 38th level right away. He also took out a lot of money and told them to buy all the magic cherry tomatoes they could find. Since the E-grade cherry tomatoes didn't work, he planned to use the new D-grade ones. He promised to get them at any cost. Meanwhile, Theo had headed towards Sejun's cave and noticed the spring onion leaves Sejun was cultivating along the way. He picked them up until he accidentally collided with Ox 3, who was munching on the leaves. Ox 3, a puzzled minotaur, was surprised to encounter a wandering merchant. Theo questioned where Ox 3 had found the leaves he was eating. Ox 3 argued that he had picked up what was lying on the ground. Theo disagreed, stating that Sejun wouldn't have left the leaves carelessly on the ground. He explained their usefulness as a food bowl, rope, and tissue. Theo couldn't believe Ox 3 had taken such valuable grass. Ox 3, a proud Minotaur warrior, became angry at being accused of stealing. He declared he wouldn't harm a wandering merchant and insisted that he had found the leaves on the ground. Theo, still firm about the accusation, suggested checking with Sejun. Ox 3 reluctantly agreed to meet Sejun, assuming Sejun had discarded the grass. He anticipated receiving praise from the captain. Sejun was peacefully sleeping until Theo woke him by calling his name. Unsuccessful in waking Sejun, Theo dropped onto his abdomen and insisted it wasn't the time to nap. Sejun, confused, asked what was wrong, and Theo claimed to have caught a thief. Sejun, bewildered, emerged from the cave to face the formidable Ox 3. Intimidated by Ox 3's size, Sejun questioned if he was the real thief. Theo affirmed, presenting the spring onion leaves as evidence. Sejun recognized them as the ones he had spread in the field. Ox 3 argued that he only picked up what was on the ground, insisting there was no other explanation for the leaves to be there except for being discarded. As Sejun gazed at Ox 3, a minotaur, he pondered if this creature was one of those horned beings Mama Bear warned him about. He remembered the field in ruins after the blue moon, with corn leaves scattered just a few days prior. He assumed Theo had just captured Ox 3. Ox 3 then insisted he was an honorable warrior and wouldn't steal, but Theo countered, stating the leaves weren't discarded. It struck Sejun that minotaurs were essentially cows, triggering a realization. Theo urged Sejun to tell the truth, and to everyone's surprise, Ox 3 learned that the leaves weren't thrown away but strategically placed on the field to control soil moisture. Flustered, the minotaur apologized, but Sejun asserted that an apology wouldn't suffice for stealing. Boldly, Sejun requested 100 tower coins as compensation for the damage. Ox 3 was surprised to find out that the grass was too expensive. It dawned on him that stealing wasn't a good idea. Theo urged him to quickly pay up, but Ox 3 had nothing at all. Sejun then proposed that Ox 3 could settle his debt by working for him. He suggested paying 1 tower coin per day, and Ox 3 could use that to clear his dues. Ox 3 wondered if he would actually get paid for his work, and Sejun assured him, even offering lots of leaves, Ox 3's favorite food, since he claimed not to be a bad boss. Excitedly, Ox 3 agreed to the deal, and they shook hands to seal the agreement. Theo, on the other hand, was shocked by Sejun's approach and took notes on the idea of making someone work if they can't pay. Ox 3 left with a smile, and Sejun praised Theo for catching a thief and gaining a new worker. Theo questioned if he had done a good job, and Sejun mentioned that his Salascat status would be extended for another month. Dissatisfied, Theo asked for more, clinging to Sejun's leg. The day after, Sejun faced off against a bunch of crayfish once more, accompanied by the black rabbit. The rabbit took the lead, using its hammer to knock the crayfish out of the water. Sejun followed up with a final stab to finish them off, and the other rabbits gathered the catch. Sejun declared they had enough for the bear's share. Impressed with Black Rabbit's skills, Sejun complimented its improvement. Suddenly, the Black Rabbit started glowing, especially its hammer, which transformed, revealing a pointy side. This caught Sejun by surprise as he realized it was not a typical level up, but a second awakening. Everyone applauded the Black Rabbit, and Sejun left the crayfish hunting to it. Out of nowhere, Mama Bear appeared, and Sejun went outside to see what she wanted. Kyung pointed to a spot, and Sejun was astonished to find a beehive hanging on a tall, pointed boulder nearby. The second-generation bee queen emerged, excited to see Sejun. It flew towards him, surprising him since he hadn't seen it since it hatched from the cocoon. Sejun was relieved to see her and expressed concern that he might be imprinted as her master since she quickly disappeared from sight. Normal bees then buzzed in, and Sejun realized that the bee queen had gone to form her swarm. Sejun had introduced her to Kyung and requested him to guard the second bee queen's home for the honey he enjoyed. The bear and monster then got acquainted, much to Sejun and Mama Bear's delight. Shortly after, Ox 3 joined Sejun's workforce. As Sejun greeted him, Mama Bear became hostile upon seeing the infamous red bear. Ox 3, surprised, prepared for a confrontation. Despite Sejun's attempts to calm Mama Bear, she ignored him and pushed them aside. Theo emerged from the cave, complaining about the noise. Sejun, seeking help, grabbed Theo and explained the situation, asking for assistance in stopping the two massive monsters. Sejun then urged Mama Bear and Ox 3 to cease fighting and clarified that Ox 3 was there to work for him. Mama Bear said something, and Theo translated, conveying Mama Bear's request for Sejun to return to the cave as she couldn't tolerate the Minotaur invading their territory. Sejun tried to intervene with Ox 3, but the Minotaur believed that an honorable warrior should not avoid a battle. Sejun's head hurt a lot. Out of nowhere, Kyung asked for churros, and Theo wanted Sejun to scold the little bear. Aileen suddenly got in touch with Sejun, saying she was hungry. Sejun tried to explain what was going on, but she ignored him because of her hunger. Sejun couldn't believe that nobody was paying attention to him. Kyung kept bothering Sejun for some churros. Ox 3 loudly mooed, and Mama Bear growled. Theo then annoyed Sejun with more churros. The rabbits also began asking Sejun for something. Sejun reached his limit, his face turning red. He declared that he wouldn't give food to anyone who wouldn't listen to him. Everyone stopped, and the two big monsters became nervous. Kyung and the rabbits were shocked. Let's include Aileen in the mix too. Theo started crying while saying sorry. Everyone trembled as they looked at the angry Sejun. Sejun told everyone to sit down, and they all followed his instructions. Aileen did the same. Sejun then said that if the two huge monsters fought, it would harm the crops and everyone else. To ease the tension, he suggested having a meal and asking the rabbits for help. He told them to eat first. The Black Rabbit gathered more crayfish and piranha, while the Sickle Rabbit collected veggies. Other rabbits grilled corn. Sejun prepared a simple dish, and many dishes were served, surprising everyone. They sat down for a meal, and Sejun sent some food to Aileen. Ox 3 reached for corn but accidentally touched Mama Bear's paws. They glared at each other, and Sejun warned them. Sejun introduced Mama Bear and Kyung as the protectors of the fields and cave. Ox 3 introduced himself to Sejun and everyone for the first time. Sejun informed Mama Bear that Ox 3 would help with the fields and warned them not to fight, or they wouldn't get delicious food. The two imagined not being able to eat, and because of that, got along in the end. The power of friendship was built by hunger and food. Sejun liked what he was seeing, and Theo translated for Mama Bear to focus on their handshake. Ox 3 had wondered about the kind of work he would be doing. Sejun assured him it was something straightforward. They headed to a nearby barren land, and Sejun asked Ox 3 to turn over the soft soil, similar to what the Minotaurs did during the blue moon. He promised lunch as a reward. Ox 3 questioned if that was the only task, and he was pleasantly surprised to learn lunch was part of the deal. Sejun emphasized that he wasn't a harsh employer. Taking a sprinter's stance, Ox 3's horns transformed, and he began running while tilling the hard ground. He worked diligently, motivated by the prospect of delicious food. Sejun was pleased that they could now easily plow the land. He then directed the rabbits to plant spring onions, aiming to increase the yield. Increasing yield was simple. They just needed to harvest and cut moderately grown spring onions, leaving only the roots. Over time, the roots would split and grow, and they could replant these strong split roots. Afterward, Sejun successfully created a spring onion field spanning over 7,000 square feet, earning 200 experience points in the process. He was pleased to see the completion of his new field. Knowing that the tower's spring onions grew faster than normal ones, he anticipated further expansion of the field in the near future. However, a new issue emerged as he observed Papa Rabbit, one of the watering can rabbits, vigorously smacking its watering can. Their next challenge revolved around the limitation of water usage for crop irrigation. At that moment, Papa Rabbit underwent a surprising transformation, with its watering can turning gold. Sejun was astonished to witness a second awakening, reminiscent of the Black Rabbit's evolution. Speculating that repeated use might have triggered this change, he inquired about the increased water capacity. Papa Rabbit proudly stated that it had doubled compared to the previous amount. Excited by this revelation, Sejun decided to expand his field. Meanwhile, the Minotaur boss pondered the whereabouts of Ox 3. Several days later, Sejun took the baby rabbits out of the cave for the first time. He introduced them to Kyung as their big brother. They approached Kyung, and he greeted them with a friendly lick. The little rabbits were initially surprised and backed away, but soon they hopped onto Kyung's belly. Sejun was happy that Kyung was looking out for the baby rabbits. Theo scoffed when he heard that Kyung was called the big brother and insisted that he was the uncle. He tried to get the baby rabbits to follow him on an adventure, but they ignored him and continued playing with Kyung. Theo felt sad that they had forgotten about their uncle. Sejun remarked on how quickly kids grow up, and Theo expressed his sadness since he had taken care of them in the cave. Sejun then picked up Theo and gave him some churu to calm him down. He reminded Theo that it was time to go down to the lower floors to trade. Theo hesitated, claiming it would be difficult for him to go. Sejun asked why, and Theo anxiously explained about the wolves searching for the straw hat. Theo confirmed that was the reason and found the situation troublesome. Sejun understood that the straw hat was an artifact with good effects but would be useless in the hands of a non-farmer. He wondered if there were other tower farmers on different floors. Sejun assured Theo not to worry, as he had an idea to solve his problem. Theo had been curious about something. Sejun then proposed hiring Ox 3 as his freelance mercenary. Theo really liked the idea. So what are freelance mercenaries? Well, just like wandering merchants, it's a job that was born in the tower. Through an agreement between the Freelance Mercenary Association and the Wandering Merchant Association, freelance mercenaries can use merchant passes by paying a fee. Also, people who aren't mercenaries can get access to these passes if they're hired temporarily. Sejun also wanted to descend the tower as a freelance mercenary, but he wasn't born inside the tower. Theo started to wonder if Ox 3, a monster from the 99th floor, would agree to be a freelance mercenary. Sejun then suggested tripling Ox 3's daily rate if he escorted Theo. Theo called Sejun a genius because he hadn't thought about it before. Sejun just laughed it off and offered more treats to our Salscat, who happily accepted them. Meanwhile, Ox 3 sneaked out of the Minotaur's territory, but someone spotted him, Ox 4, a female Minotaur. Nervously, Ox 3 downplayed the situation. Ox 4, noticing the shine on Ox 3's face, suspected he had been secretly eating something. She shook him vigorously, demanding to be taken along, threatening to expose his supposed mutiny plans to their boss. Eventually, Ox 3 gave in, asking her to keep it hush-hush. Soon after, Sejun was surprised to find both Ox 3 and Ox 4 in front of him. Wondering why Ox 3 brought a friend, Sejun was introduced to Ox 4. She expressed interest in working on the fields, and Ox 3 pleaded with Sejun to let her join, emphasizing the potential trouble he would face. Sejun, claiming they didn't urgently need help, eventually agreed after some consideration. Sejun explained that their wandering merchant was under threat from wolves, and Theo needed bodyguards, offering a daily rate of 3 tower coins. However, Ox 4 refused the payment, stating she couldn't eat tower coins. Sejun, surprised, then proposed 3 meals a day with snacks in between. Ox 4 quickly agreed. Ox 3, seeing the opportunity, also expressed his desire to go. Sejun, recognizing their hunger-driven motivation, agreed to ensure Theo's safety and promised to pack some food for their journey. Suddenly, Ox 4 hugged Ox 3 in gratitude, and he blushed, claiming happiness at being with her. Sejun, observing the scene, sensed something more going on between the two. Shortly after, Sejun had finished harvesting the spring onions in his field outside the cave. He wondered if the harvest would be sufficient. Theo pondered whether he should store everything in his cloth bag. Sejun was concerned that it might not all fit, but Theo reassured him. He spread his cloth in the air, and to Sejun's surprise, the bag managed to suck in all the spring onions. Theo proudly revealed that he had been promoted to a senior wandering merchant, which increased his bag's capacity. Sejun noticed that Theo's badge now had a different color. Sejun urged Theo to hurry and deliver the gifts to his family. Theo assured him and left with Ox 3 and 4. Sejun asked the Minotaurs to look after Theo and stood there, wondering if Theo might be eaten by the Minotaurs after consuming so many spring onions. Later in the merchant alley, wolves were still waiting for Theo, and they were running out of food. Elka, the leader, instructed Elko to eat, but Elko hesitated. Elka considered returning to the 85th floor, but Elko's suggestion angered him. Elka reminded Elko about their starving tribe members and the consequences of failing to steal the straw hat. No food from Grid. Elko apologized tearfully for his inappropriate suggestion. Elka sighed, gave Elko some food to regain strength, and suddenly felt something. The others were curious about what was happening. Elka had sensed Theo's presence and was determined to gather information about the straw hat, no matter what. Other folks in Merchant Alley marveled at the sight of Minotaurs from the 99th floor for the first time. They were curious about the wandering merchant who managed to hire them as freelance mercenaries. Suddenly, Theo proudly interrupted their conversation, claiming it was him who had hired the Minotaurs. Skeptical, the onlookers asked him not to fib since they hadn't heard of him before. Theo then called over the two Minotaurs, but they vanished from sight, leaving him perplexed about their whereabouts. Meanwhile, Ox 3 and Ox 4 stood in front of a stall owned by a smaller animal. The duo simply wanted to purchase cabbages, but the poor, cute animal misunderstood their intentions. Theo eventually found them and reminded them of their job. Ox 3 apologized, explaining they found everything interesting. Curious, Theo asked if it was their first time in the Passage Village, and Ox 3 confirmed it was their inaugural venture beyond the 99th floor. Ox 3 pondered why the place was named the Merchant Passage, assuming everyone born in the tower should have access, not just wandering merchants. Theo teasingly called him a country bumpkin for not being in the know. Spotting a stack of boxes, Theo climbed on top and decided to enlighten the Minotaurs about everything. A long time ago, the tower had passages that stretched like branches from the first floor up to the 99th floor. With many passages, it was unclear which were safe or dangerous. The first wandering merchant created the Wandering Merchant Association, organizing paths by pruning the dangerous ones and choosing the safe ones. The Free Mercenary Association became the tower's main force, and the Magic Tower followed suit. Everyone worked hard to manage the passages, providing resources and manpower. Despite being managed by the Wandering Merchant Association, the passages became known as the Merchant Passage. The Minotaurs were impressed by Theo's knowledge, not realizing he had simply read the first page of the beginner's guide. Theo explained that while most passages were open to everyone, there were paid passages for wandering merchants as shortcuts. He mentioned they were able to use these because he was a wandering merchant, claiming it would take longer through the regular passages. The Passage Village, where most paid passages were concentrated, was at the center. Theo suggested they take a paid passage to the 40th floor since they planned to go to the 38th floor. Before that, he recommended they grab a meal, and the two hungry bodyguards were delighted. As Theo led the two Minotaurs to his favorite restaurant, a wolf from earlier suddenly pounced on him, catching him off guard. Elka, glaring at Theo, recognized him, and our Saliscat noticed. Elka asked about the whereabouts of the straw hat, and Ox 3 swung a punch at him. Elka swiftly dodged and was surprised to see a Minotaur. Ox 3 questioned who the wolf was. Theo then exclaimed that Elka had been the one threatening him. As Ox 3 decided to deal with Elka, Elka's allies joined the fray and went after Ox 3. However, Ox 4 stepped in to protect him and sent the two wolves flying with her rapid punches. She was taken aback to see puppies snooping around. She instructed Ox 3 to guard Theo while she handled the fight. Worried in Ox 3's grasp, Theo fretted about Ox 4 facing all the wolves in a 1 versus 4 fight. Ox 3 asserted that such dogs were no match for them, hailing from the 99th floor. He also admitted that Ox 4 was stronger than him. Upon hearing Ox 3's reassuring words, Theo asked Ox 4 not to murder the wolves. Ox 4 said she wouldn't do that and waited for the wolves to recover. Elka then checked on Elko and Elki. Elki wondered what to do, and Elka said they couldn't retreat because it was their only chance to capture Theo. The three wolves prepared for the fight, and Elka signaled the other two to attack simultaneously. Ox 4 proudly stood there, waiting for the wolves to strike. Meanwhile, in the cave, the sickle rabbit was in charge of giving haircuts. He had just finished grooming Cart Rabbit's fur. Sejun admired the rabbit's grooming skills. It was Sejun's turn, and he asked the sickle rabbit to trim his annoyingly long hair. Suddenly, Kyung's breath startled the sickle rabbit, causing him to sneeze. He accidentally created a bald spot on Sejun's head, and both he and Kyung realized they had made a mistake. Back in Passage Village, the wolves launched a coordinated attack. Elka led the assault and Ox 4 got ready to defend. However, Elka was just a distraction as the other wolves attacked from different directions. Elki bit Ox 4's arm, while Elka grabbed her horn and aimed for a bite at her neck. All the wolves sank their fangs into Ox 4's neck, arm, and leg. Despite their efforts, Elka could sense that their sharp teeth couldn't pierce Ox 4's tough skin. Ox 4 wondered if the wolves were surprised, then retaliated with a body blow to Elka. She grabbed Elki and tossed him aside, then kicked Elko like a soccer ball. Although Elka continued biting hard on Ox 4's neck, Ox 4 easily removed him and slammed him to the ground. She prepared for a final lethal blow, and Elka realized he had picked the wrong opponent. In a sudden moment of impending doom, Elka experienced a pre-death flashback. He remembered his grandfather, the previous chief, sharing a story. They belonged to the pure-blooded Silver Wolves tribe. When they passed away, they transformed into guardian spirits to protect the tribe. Their strength surpassed other tribes due to their skills as hunters and fighters, inheriting the protection and will of their ancestors. Elka's grandfather had advised the young Elka to behave with pride, ensuring they wouldn't tarnish the honor left by their ancestors. This way, they could seek answers in the future. The innocent Elka had agreed to live properly and uphold the tribe's honor. Shortly after, a severe drought hit Sudan, causing devastation for everyone. The tribes resorted to pillaging and murdering each other. Elka managed to escape the village during the chaos. Eventually, he became the chieftain, but his tribe members were upset because he had previously worked under someone named Grid. They couldn't believe Elka was tarnishing the honor of their ancestors. Elka, however, insisted that he had no choice and only wanted to secure the best future for their children. He couldn't abandon them, even if it meant working for someone like Grid. Elka told them to be quiet, claiming that their ancestors would understand his actions. He hoped his grandfather would also comprehend the difficult decisions he had to make. Fast forward to the present, Ox 4 had just thrown a punch, but it completely missed Elka. Theo observed that the wolves were now unconscious. Ox 4 pondered whether she should break their legs, but Theo deemed that too cruel. Instead, he suggested letting Sejun decide, and the Minotaurs carried the unconscious wolves away. Back in the cave, sunlight reflected on Sejun's bald spot. Kyung and Sickle Rabbit were freaking out. Sejun worried if it was all over, but then he touched his bald spot. Unable to see it, he wished he had a mirror. Sickle Rabbit apologized, but Sejun reassured him, saying mistakes happen, especially since he was the only human around. He thought wearing a straw hat would fix it, but it didn't cure his sudden sadness. Mama Rabbit walked in, curious about the commotion. After Sickle Rabbit explained, Mama Rabbit got angry. Sejun insisted he was okay, but Mama Rabbit insisted on giving him a haircut and grabbed her scissors, planning a makeover. Meanwhile, Aileen relaxed, as usual, reading and snacking. She realized she was out of cherry tomatoes and imagined Sejun calling her a pig for asking for more food. Despite that, she contacted him for a refill. While doing so, she noticed something strange and wondered what had just happened. Sejun showed off his new haircut, courtesy of Mom Rabbit. Aileen was taken aback by his fresh and handsome look. Sejun, noticing her silence, waved at the system panel. Aileen, blushing and in full silent mode, couldn't help but shriek at Sejun's closer and more handsome appearance. Sejun, concerned, wondered if something was wrong, but Aileen told him to back off. She admitted she couldn't take her eyes off him and asked for more crayfish. Sejun, thinking it was about food, asked her to eat slowly. He explained that crayfish were decreasing and piranhas were nowhere to be found. Sejun had been eating vegetables lately and suggested Aileen do the same. He offered corn, cherry tomatoes, dry potatoes, and Aileen thanked him. When Aileen tried to say something more, Sejun got confused. She complimented his new haircut and disappeared, leaving Sejun surprised by her unexpected praise. Sejun continued working, while Aileen, speechless and blushing, wondered why her heart was racing. She considered the idea of being sick, but dismissed it, attributing her fast heartbeat to surprise at Sejun's new appearance. Looking at the corns, she remembered Sejun's concern for her health. Aileen searched her bookshelves and found a cookbook. Blushing like someone in love, she decided to cook for Sejun. Meanwhile, Theo had just reached the 38th floor, and customers immediately surrounded him. He took out more of the famous cherry tomatoes than usual, and everyone started bidding tower coins. The scene continued as Theo closed deals. He had 2,000 cherry tomatoes left when someone approached and offered 1,600 tower coins for the remaining batch. Without any objections, Theo sold everything in an instant. Afterwards, people began to complain about a company monopolizing the cherry tomatoes. Dongshik expressed concern, thinking that ordinary hunters like them would be at a disadvantage. However, he reassured himself, knowing he was directly acquainted with Theo. Just then, the recent buyer noticed that the cultivator's name was now displayed on the cherry tomatoes description. Upon further investigation, they discovered that the cultivator was a Korean named Park Sejun. Dongshik grabbed one of the cherry tomatoes and read its description, shocked to find out that Sejun was a tower farmer. The recent buyer quickly ordered the others to mobilize their hunters from the US and search for Sejun to recruit him to their side. The hunter felt proud to have found valuable information for the vice chairman. Dongshik was worried because he might lose a valuable talent like Sejun. Additionally, Sejun's family was in danger. Outside the tower, Sejun's magical cherry tomatoes were more valuable than jewels. There was a risk that Sejun could be blackmailed if his family was in jeopardy. Dongshik knew that Sejun couldn't leave the tower due to a quest and only received news from the outside through Theo. He assumed Sejun was unaware of this sudden problem. Theo then approached Dongshik, and the hunter quickly grabbed him. Dongshik was puzzled about what was happening. He questioned Theo about the revelation regarding the cultivator, especially since Sejun's name was censored before. Theo admitted that he had been promoted, and being in the lower tier was to protect the cultivators. Dongshik expressed concern, revealing that he had unintentionally put Sejun's family in danger. He explained that the magical cherry tomatoes were causing a commotion outside the tower. Initially, it was okay since Sejun's name was not revealed on the tomatoes description. However, now that they knew Sejun's identity, everyone would try to monopolize his produce and even target his family. Theo realized that his promotion had complicated things for Sejun and pondered on what he should do. Dongshik assured him that he and the Phoenix Guild would do their best to protect Sejun's family, and Theo expressed his gratitude. Dongshik stood up to leave and inform the other members, but Theo asked him a favor before leaving. He brought out baskets full of corn and carrots along with 200 magic cherry tomatoes as payment for the delivery. Dongshik was surprised to see agility carrots and stamina corns. He worried that the world might find out about them, and Theo wondered if it would be dangerous. Dongshik assured him not to worry and asked Theo to tell Sejun to be reassured. After that, Theo left, and Dongshik decided to inform his master about Sejun. Meanwhile, at the entrance to the passageways on the 38th floor, Ox 3 and 4 were snacking on spring onion leaves while the wolves struggled in their binds. Elka called the Minotaurs simple bastards for working under a wandering merchant. Ox 4 wondered if she could punch Elka once, but Ox 3 claimed she would destroy the wolf. Theo came running and told the Minotaurs to leave quickly. Ox 3 asked about the urgency, and Theo promised to explain on the way. The Minotaurs then carried the tied-up wolves. Theo asked them to wait as he noticed a nearby street vendor. He bought a necklace, and the vendor offered 2 tower coins. However, the vendor got scared upon seeing the Minotaurs behind Theo, who was asking for a discount. Soon after, Dongshik shivered in his coat as a man raided Sejun's background. They didn't know exactly where he was, but they knew he was the cultivator of the famous magic cherry tomatoes. The man, Han Taejun, was intrigued by Sejun being a tower farmer. Taejun, once the guild master of the Phoenix Guild and now a member of the Korea Awakened Association, found out about Sejun's connection to the unique crops. Dongshik worried about Taejun and wondered if he was okay. Taejun showed his well-being by bursting into flames, with his hair and beard turning into fire. He was upset that Dongshik had kept a valuable talent hidden, which could have secretly surpassed the 40th floor. Dongshik asked him to calm down, revealing that he had unofficially reached the 52nd floor. Annoyed, Taejun argued it was different and suspected Dongshik of hiding more. Dongshik insisted it was as per the report, highlighting that the role of a tower farmer didn't exist before. Taejun gave up and put out his flames. Dongshik noticed the curse of the flames still spreading. Taejun dismissed it and asked about Dongshik's true purpose. Dongshik requested Taejun's support for the Awakened Association to protect Sejun's family now that Sejun was exposed to the world. Taejun revealed he had already formed a security team to prevent other countries from taking Sejun, as several had inquired. As a token of gratitude, Dongshik gave Taejun a basket of magic cherry tomatoes, assuming they would be helpful. The intrigued man took one and declared it delicious. Shortly after, Sejun's family found themselves surprised by the appearance of corn, carrots, and cherry tomatoes. The entire family was puzzled, and Sejun's brother identified the cherry tomatoes as the ones renowned for aiding in weight loss. He was impressed that his brother had cultivated all of them. Dongshik then informed them that they were under threat, and the Korea Awakened Association would ensure their protection. He urged them to get ready to relocate. Sejun's parents were anxious since they hadn't finished paying for their house lease. Dongshik reassured them, mentioning that they had already arranged a house in Hanamdong. Sejun's brother got excited, recognizing it as a neighborhood where many famous people lived. Dongshik mentioned that he too resided in the same neighborhood with his family. Sejun's brother heard about a famous girl group living nearby. Dongshik inquired if Sejun's brother liked girl groups and knew about LJSN. Sejun's brother affirmed that everyone knew the group, only to realize something was amiss. Dongshik showed his phone wallpaper featuring his daughter, Sarah, the leader and main vocal of the famous girl group. Sejun's brother was thrilled, realizing Dongshik was Sarah's father all along. Sejun's mother sighed, finding it hard to believe that their dutiful son was toiling as a farmer inside the tower. She wondered if someone was looking after Sejun. Meanwhile, Aileen, who cared for Sejun, was seen cooking with peculiar ingredients. After adding the final seasoning, the pot emitted a bright shine, signaling the completion of Aileen's cooking. On another note, Sejun began harvesting spring onion leaves with the hope that they would become a valuable item. Unfortunately, nothing seemed to appear. Black Rabbit provided a hint, and Sejun pulled out a spring onion along with its roots. A status window appeared, labeling it as a detoxifying green onion. Several system windows popped up, indicating that Sejun had leveled up his job. The new spring onion could detoxify poisons of grade C+ and lower. Sejun was pleased that his assumptions were accurate. Curious, he tasted the green onion, finding it to be the same as usual. He wondered if it could work for those who consumed alcohol, considering its liver detoxification properties. At that moment, Cart Rabbit approached to let them know it was time to eat. However, the pond and the cave had run out of piranhas and crawfish. Sejun decided to give up meat for a while. Out of the blue, Aileen messaged him, saying she had a gift to celebrate Sejun's 200th day in the tower. Sejun couldn't believe how quickly time had flown and was curious about the present. Aileen set up a quest, asking for a single cherry tomato in exchange for her gift. Sejun handed one over, and Aileen gave him health soup. Suddenly, a cauldron appeared, but instead of health soup, it turned out to be hell soup. It could permanently boost all stats by 3, but it was also poisoned. Sejun wondered if Aileen really intended for it to be eaten. Aileen mentioned she was tired and decided to take a nap. She giggled, hoping Sejun would eat everything, and drifted off to sleep. Sejun called out to her, but there was no response. Even the rabbits hopped away in fear, and the poison bees avoided the hell soup. Sejun couldn't believe he had been left alone. It seemed like Aileen had unintentionally created a weapon of mass destruction. Who allowed her to cook? Sejun was debating whether to take a risk. Black Rabbit reminded him about the green onion with detoxifying effects. The rabbits brought more of it to ensure Sejun's safety. He ate some, gaining poison resistance for an hour. When he tried the soup, he spat it out, accidentally hitting Cart Rabbit and First Bee Queen. Sejun got scolded as he vomited. Despite his complaints, the system was already detoxifying him. Sejun called Aileen a brat for attempting to harm him. Sejun surprised everyone by deciding to brave it all at once. Wanting to see everything, he discovered a blobfish in the cauldron's bottom part. Freaking out, he accidentally knocked the cauldron into the pond, mixing the soup with the water. To his surprise, his status window showed a +3 stat boost and unexpected experience points. Many piranhas and crayfish were murdered, and shockingly, an electric eel's demise granted him 5,000 EXP. Sejun was shocked. Feeling guilty for poisoning the pond, Sejun was scolded by the rabbits. They were fine getting water from watering can rabbit, but Sejun was more concerned about the pond's hole. Wondering about the ecosystem under the pond, he declined Black Rabbit's suggestion to swim inside, fearing the poison. He appreciated the thought but didn't want to endanger Black Rabbit and decided to wait for the poison to dilute. Sejun cheered everyone up, reminding them they still had food. Meanwhile, on the 99th floor's waypoint, the Minotaur King was pondering the whereabouts of Ox 3. Noticing that Ox 4 had also not returned, he grew concerned. Another Minotaur suggested the possibility of encounters with either the Crimson Bear or the Poison Bees. The Minotaur King expressed worry that Ox 3 might have faced trouble, but he remained confident that Ox 4 wouldn't easily succumb. Taking action, he ordered all oxes from 1 to 100 to gather at the waypoint and decided to personally search for the missing Minotaurs. Shortly after, Sejun and his companions completed the harvesting of green onions. A system window appeared, blessing the fields with a good harvest for the upcoming week. The field illuminated, and the freshly cut green onions began regrowing. Sejun then sought assistance from Sickle Rabbit for another round of harvesting. Aileen inquired about Sejun finishing the soup, expressing gratitude for the increased stats. Sejun, unable to give a clear answer about the taste, left Aileen disheartened, thinking her soup didn't fare well. Sejun reassured her, claiming he had enjoyed everything, even stating that the soup was exceptional. Despite Aileen's offer to cook another pot, Sejun declined, expressing concern for her fatigue. Aileen, thinking Sejun was worried about her, gladly agreed, and Sejun was appreciative. As Sejun finally relaxed, the ground suddenly trembled. Perplexed, he questioned the cause, and the Minotaur King appeared angrier than usual, roared at them. Sejun and the others were startled by a loud roar. Sejun questioned if the Minotaur in front of them differed from Ox 3 and 4. Aileen then confirmed it was the Minotaur King, the boss of the 99th floor. She was puzzled about how the boss had left the waypoint it was supposed to protect. Sejun realized he needed to defeat the Minotaur in front of him to leave the tower. He wondered why the boss had come over, and Aileen suggested talking to him, citing a rule that the boss should not leave the waypoint. Aileen tried using the tower manager's rights to summon the Minotaur King, but the system rejected her order, leaving her shocked. Aileen then informed Sejun that talking to the Minotaur King was impossible. Sejun pondered whether they should just face the incoming charge of the Minotaur King. Mama Bear stood up to protect everyone, but Sejun exclaimed it was impossible for her to defeat the boss of the 99th floor. The Minotaur King then leaped high, holding his axe, and roared again. Sejun accepted his impending demise, while Aileen worried for him. However, the Minotaur King had dropped his axe and snacked on the nearby green onions instead. He mooed in excitement, and the others were disappointed that the tension suddenly disappeared. They only saw a huge bull who loved green onions. Just then, the Minotaur King lifted a bundle of green onions and ran away like a customer not paying for their meal at a restaurant. Aileen said the Minotaur King was on his way back to the waypoint. Sejun said he got scared and thanked Mama Bear for trying to protect them. It was sad to see the field ruined. Sejun and the rabbits then started cleaning up the mess. Aileen was glad that her tower farmer was safe but felt sorry that the field got messed up. Sejun told her not to worry since he was glad that everyone was okay. He then decided to pay the Minotaur King a visit. Seeing Aileen confused, Sejun reminded her how Minotaurs placed their warrior honor above anything else. Aileen realized what Sejun was planning to do. Sejun wondered how much he would make the Dine and Dasher pay for the damages. Afterward, Sejun cooked some food for everyone as he planned to organize things before the Minotaur King returned. Just then, the baby rabbits started throwing a fit since there was no meat. He told them to behave and pointed out that even their older brother Kyung was not complaining. He was able to convince them, and Mama Rabbit and Papa Rabbit fed the well-behaved kids. Sejun had praised Kyung for being well-behaved, but he couldn't help but wonder why Kyung wasn't growing as quickly as before. Concerned, Sejun thought Kyung might be sick. Just as he pondered this, Theo's voice caught his attention. Theo and the Minotaurs had returned, carrying someone with them. Sejun was surprised and asked what was happening. Theo explained that the newcomers were from the Silver Wolf tribe and were targeting him. He sought Sejun's advice on what to do with them. Sejun, curious if the wolves were asleep, learned from Ox 4 that she had knocked them out. Theo then noticed the chaotic state of the field. Sejun admitted that the Minotaur King had paid a visit, causing panic among Ox 3 and Ox 4. Sejun urged them to set aside worries for later and focus on eating. The Minotaurs left to grab a meal. As Theo attempted to share something with Sejun, Elka sneaked up on them, but Kyung quickly intervened, protecting Sejun. Sejun felt relieved to have Kyung by his side. Elka retreated a bit, cursing at Kyung. Theo then realized that his straw hat was missing. Elki and Elki joined them, and Elka thanked them for finding the straw hat. Theo couldn't believe the world seemed unconscious, just waiting for the right moment to snatch away the hat. Elka then told Elki and Elko to leave, but Mama Bear stood in their way. Elka felt scared, and Mama Bear warned them with a loud roar. In just a minute, Elka surrendered. Sejun got his hat back intact. He then thought about what to do with the angry monsters surrounding the poor puppies. Kyung suggested eating the wolves, but Sejun offered some money instead, with the help of the second Bee Queen. Sejun tried to calm down Mama Bear and the Minotaurs. Elka wondered why these monsters were obediently listening to Sejun. Elki remembered hearing Theo call Sejun chairman and wondered if he was someone important on the 99th floor. Elko exclaimed that Sejun was the Black Dragon, as stronger monsters were following his lead. It was hard for him to believe that the Black Dragon was real, an entity ruling the 99th floor. Seeing Sejun appear weak before them, Elko wondered if he was just making their guard down. He assumed they were being tested, and this might be the answer their ancestor was telling them. Sejun then asked them why they were chasing after Theo and the Straw Hat. Elka then protested and apologized for offending the Black Dragon. Both Sejun and Aileen were surprised. Aileen laughed out loud and told Sejun that he could pretend to be the Great Black Dragon. She even gave him a quest to show the wolves the greatness of the Great Black Dragon. Aileen cheered for him, saying it would be beneficial for Sejun. Sejun just realized that Aileen was a real dragon and not some winged pig. He remembered Aileen being called the Tower Manager. Theo then wondered what was wrong. Since Aileen gave her permission, Sejun started acting like the Black Dragon, disguising himself as a human. His Chunibyu level went up as he exclaimed that he was the Black Dragon. Everyone fell silent, and Aileen cringed and felt embarrassed. The Minotaurs wondered if it was true. Theo asked Sejun to stop the creepy act, but he was bribed with a stick of churro and started playing the role of the Black Dragon's subordinate. After Theo scolded them, Elka begged to spare his tribe, putting his life on the line. Sejun had declared that he would forgive them, but only if they handed over 10,000 gold coins. The wolves were surprised, exchanging glances. Theo felt pleased to learn his own value, and Sejun expressed how precious Theo was to him. He then requested Theo to fetch a contract. Elka, however, mentioned they didn't have the requested amount. Theo suggested they repay by working for Sejun, but Elki reminded Elka of their contract with Grid. Elka apologized again, explaining their commitment to Grid, who owned the land on the 85th floor. Their current task was to retrieve a stolen straw hat, but now it was in the possession of the Great Black Dragon. Elka confessed they would fail, jeopardizing their tribe's food supply. Aileen got angry at their refusal of the Great Black Dragon's contract, and Sejun asked for an explanation. Elka revealed their tribe on the 85th floor was facing a prolonged drought, and to sustain themselves, they worked for Grid. However, their current mission was at risk, and if they worked for Sejun, their tribe would face starvation. Elka pleaded for forgiveness, offering their lives. Sejun inquired about the place they were in, and Elka noticed fields suitable for cultivating crops. Sejun decided to modify the contract, adding that they would work for 10,000 tower coins and receive food for their tribe during their service under him. Elka and the others celebrated, realizing they could escape Grid's control. Elka expressed gratitude to Sejun and vowed to do their best, tearfully thanking him. The Minotaurs were pleased, but Aileen silently observed, smiling as she considered the Black Dragon's upbringing complete. Elka signed the contract, and Sejun appointed Theo as their overseer. Theo facilitated introductions between the Minotaurs and wolves. Sejun contemplated the existence of potential future threats, deciding to have the wolves guard Theo while descending and the Minotaurs tend to the fields. When Theo asked Sejun for fish to share with the wolves, he discovered there were none left in the pond. Sejun assured him he was trying to find a solution, and Theo threatened to stop working unless there were fish. Sejun noted the diluted poison and Black Rabbit's detoxification with green onion, preparing to explore new hunting grounds. That's it for today's recap. Give us a like and subscribe for more videos. See you next time.